And good morning, everybody. Welcome to Sports Shorts Daily, presented by LaBear's Casino. Ronnie Rance joining you alongside Tommy Christ and TK this morning over at Court Street Cafe in downtown Port Allen, just across the Mississippi River Bridge from downtown Baton Rouge. Take that first exit, take a right, take the second light, take a right. Boom, there you are, Court Street Cafe. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, awesome brunches on the weekend, and of course, steak night. TK will tell you about a little bit later on. I am coming to you at an undisclosed location presented by the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, lasportshall.com. Check out all the activities this summer with the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. And of course, we are presented by LaBear's Casino like always. I am. You're finding me, TK, at an undisclosed location, meaning a hotel room. You see a little T-shirt. I got the national championship. I am in Atlanta, in hot Atlanta. I came here with my brother and some UL Lafayette officials, athletic director, president, and other people. And it is freezing cold, just like it is back in Louisiana. It's colder even in Atlanta than it is in Louisiana. It got to Atlanta before it got to Louisiana as far as the cold goes. And but sun's shining. It's a pretty day, even though it is cold. We're going to go to the College Football Hall of Fame, which is right next to the Omni Hotel where I'm staying, which of course is also right next to the Mercedes-Benz dome. So today we'll head over to the College Football Hall of Fame here right around lunchtime and go do that for a little while. And I'm excited about that. I'm one of the best museums in all of the country. And then we'll do a little, I guess, the World Center, the little indoor facility next to the arena is where they'll have pregame pep rally and all kind of indoor events and stuff like that. We'll go check that out this afternoon, and then we'll be in the dome to see Ohio State and Notre Dame. Where I'm at, Tommy, it seems like there's a lot more Ohio State fans than Notre Dame fans. Although, I mean, Notre Dame's going to bring a ton of people. We're not worried about that. Just we're seeing a lot of red. And it's the vibe is, I think, a little bit more like, I think Ohio State fans have a lot of confidence. They expect to win. They want to win. It's more intense for them. Whereas I think Notre Dame's a little bit happy to be here kind of feel with their fans, kind of like, hey, even if we don't win, it's been a great year kind of deal. And I think Ohio State, there's more of a sense of urgency. I mean, look at the heat that Ryan Day got after losing to Michigan that last game of the year. People wanting to fire him because he hadn't beat Michigan in 3 straight years or whatever. And 3 or 4, okay, all can be forgotten and forgiven if you win the national championship. But if you lose to Notre Dame when you're an 8.5-point favorite in this championship game, I think the heat's right back on Ryan Day again.
I think it would be, no question about that. If they beat Notre Dame tonight, the Michigan game, it'll still be on everybody's mind, but it won't be as prevalent as it is if they would lose tonight, because they'll couple it. They'll say, well, yeah, and he lost to Michigan. He lost tonight and he lost to Michigan for a couple of years in a row. So heck of a game. Opened up 9.5. I've seen the point spread as low as 8. Sitting at 8.5. Weather obviously not an issue. Over and under 45.5. That's a number right on where everybody's thinking. SEC referees will officiate the game. Obviously, I always try to get somebody from a conference not affiliated with either team. So that's what you got tonight. Kickoff shortly after 6:30. I'll be in front of the TV. Can't wait.
You mentioned SEC officials are doing the game. Ryan Day, not happy about that.
Yeah, he doesn't, because he thinks the SEC has something against the Big Ten. And the Big Ten, if they win, it would be 2 years in a row winning the title, with Michigan winning last year. And here's an interesting stat Ryan Day has pointed out. The last 728 snaps, 728 against Ohio State by the opponents since September, not one offensive line holding call against the opponent of Ohio State, including 207 snaps in the 3 college football playoff games. That's just Ronnie. In today's world, every time you watch a replay, there's 2-3 guys holding. And when you do call the holding, you can see other guys holding. And then there's a lot of times it's not called. In Ohio State's case, it hasn't been called, and Ryan Day's not happy about that, especially because they have a great defense. One game they had 8 sacks, but the other team wasn't called for one single holding penalty in the playoffs. So Come on, Ryan Day, be better than that. Bring that up after the game if Notre Dame doesn't get called for holding tonight and you lose. But all in all, it should be a heck of a game, an ending to the 12-team playoff. And already there's a meeting in April about some tweaks for next year on those buys and all of that. But overall, I think the best teams that are playing the best football right now are going to play tonight, and we'll see how it pans out.
Well, Ryan Day lobbying right for a call. That's what that's all
Yeah,
about.
he went. There's going to be a holding call in the first series against Notre Dame.
What's interesting is Georgia has the same gripe. If you look at Georgia over the last 3 years, they've been the least. Their opponent has been the least penalized team in all of the SEC, and Georgia's opponent has been like the least penalized of all. I think Georgia's over 100, ranked over 120th each and every year in the last 4 years as far as opponent penalties, and I agree with you. Obviously Georgia's been the best team in football over that period of time, and Ohio State, of course, also has been one of the best teams in football over that period of time. And you would think that in Georgia's case, for example, as good as they are and as dominant and physical as they've been over the last few years, when they're playing opponents, especially opponents that they're just destroying, that at times it would be, hey, we're going to wrap up the receivers, we're going to just hold them, we're going to pass interference, we're going to whatever. And for some reason, I don't know if it's the officials feel sorry for the opponent, or they know, hey, look, these guys are beating their brains in anyway. I don't need to call all these ticky-tacky calls. But the bottom line is that that's the bottom line. For some reason, Georgia the officials don't call penalties against them, and it's very strange. It's something I'm going to start keeping an eye on.
Well, and it's on the heels of a lot of NFL calls this weekend in the divisional round that, were called or not called, like the time they lit up, golf on the pick six. I mean, it's got to be a penalty. Every day of the week it should be. And then everybody thinks the Chiefs are getting the benefit of the doubt. Some really shaky calls in that game. So referees get a little bit more attention in the divisional round and today for the college football playoff than they'd like to be getting. And, sometimes you look and you can kind of see why the conversation is what it is.
You and I are both on the same page, right? We both like Ohio State. I've already taken them at 8.5. You're kind of hoping maybe Notre Dame money comes in and it goes down to 8.
Yeah, I mean, I could buy it down. I get that, but I've just been watching it, and I'm gonna watch it today. And if I see it come down at all, or I'll buy it down. But I just think, Craig made the comment: Notre Dame has no passing game, so
Right.
how are they going to beat Ohio State? And I mean, I'm all about Ohio State. I've been it since this matchup was set, 10 days ago, whenever we knew exactly who it was. And, it's, I think it's an Ohio State kind of thing.
By the way, I saw Joe Theismann walking through the lobby of the hotel yesterday. Of course, Mr. Notre Dame. He changed his name from Theismann to Theismann, so it rhymed with Heisman. So you can take that award back in the day, trying to go for it. Saw Rudy Rudiger and was doing a commercial for Canes online. Javi Sanchez, former LSU baseball assistant coach for the Tigers, part of that 09 staff and whatnot. Javi played at Notre Dame for Paul Maneri. He's here this weekend in Atlanta. Speaking of Coach Maneri, his daughter Sam was a cheerleader at Notre Dame, and obviously we know that that the whole Maneri family is going to be pulling for Notre Dame. And of course we've talked plenty about Verge Osbury. His son is the starting linebacker, number 4. Keep an eye on number 4 Osbury.
And Ryan Clark's son also. Ronnie, we're not seeing you, so if you want to hit that button. But
okay.
Ryan Clark's also got a son who was at Arizona State and now at Notre Dame. So there's a little Louisiana, a little LSU flavor in the building tonight. And Paul Maneri, is he not there? I mean, Columbia, South Carolina is not that. That's not that far from Atlanta. Come on, Ryan.
He might, but I don't know. Paul's probably all wrapped up and, laser focused. Paul Maneri over at South Carolina is a head baseball coach, first year over there. He's been season right around the corner, less than a month away. So he may be like, you know what, I'm not going to go spend the day over there or whatever. But he'll be pulling for the Irish. And look, we have said it over and over. you got the number one and number two best scoring defenses in the country. Ohio State number one, Notre Dame number two. And Notre Dame has been 3 yards in a cloud of dust. They've been moving the chains. They've been a beneficiary of a kickoff return for a touchdown and a strip fumble that gave them the ball inside the 10-yard line against Georgia. I mean, that's how they, they get credit for finding a way. They get credit for their toughness. They get credit for their resiliency. But against this Ohio State defense, which is arguably the best in the country, I don't think they're going to move the football, and that's why I'm comfortable right now with Ohio State.
Ohio State's definitely the better football team. That doesn't mean they're going to win tonight. You got to line up and play 4 quarters. We all know the cliches. So, top to bottom, they're a better football team. They played a better schedule. Their strength of schedule, opponents that they've played are a lot better than all the opponents put together that Notre Dame has played. Notre Dame's been hot and on a roll since the loss to Northern Illinois in week number 2. So it's a national championship game. Hey, Notre Dame has earned their way here. But I think Ohio State's a much better team, and I think they win. I'm definitely going to lay the points.
Let's talk about the NFL over the weekend. That dude, Jaden Daniels, man. So I went 2-0-2 on my bets this weekend, Tommy, and the games. I had 2 pushes. Miracle pushes. Thank you to the Kansas City Chiefs for that safety with 14 seconds to go, whatever. Love it. Was able to escape with the push, and Texans just a debacle a little bit for them. They had a chance in that game, but they just too many mistakes. And then I ended up getting the freaking push. So Lord giveth, the Lord taketh away, right? So I get a gifted push with that safety. And then I end up getting a heartbreaking push for the Eagles when he misses the extra point. I had -6. And last touchdown, they missed an extra point wide left, and I end up pushing that when I probably should have won it. But then ended up winning the bets with Buffalo and the other game, the Commanders. Yeah. But I want to talk about Washington for a minute, Tommy. Jaden Daniels has now played 2 playoff games where in those 2 playoff games combined, the Commanders have only punted 1 time. I mean, what we're seeing is just unprecedented.
A rookie quarterback has never taken his team to the Super Bowl. He's one more win away from doing something that's never been done in 58 previous Super Bowls. Okay. When Jaden Daniels, he was the number 2 pick, second quarterback pick, there were people who weren't so sure. And then, of course, today they're like, how did LSU lose with Daniels, Malik Neighbors, and Brian Thomas? Okay, but that's, I guess, for another day. But what Jaden Daniels was
epically horrific.
Yeah, that's it.
The worst defense last year at 23 LSU's ever had. Yeah.
Bingo, you get a star on a collar. But anyway, but Jaden Daniels, I mean, he has just changed. He and Coach Dan Quinn have just changed the whole mindset of the Commanders franchise. I mean, they were a couple of years ago from getting rid of an owner with scandals, and I mean, just a total mess. And they're playing football, and the team is, bought into Daniels. They're confident, and they'll go into Detroit, score 45 points. Lions defense was suspect, but still, you got to go out there and do that. Raucous crowd, Detroit. Well, I mean, you just can't. Anything Jaden Daniels does should not surprise you, especially now and going forward. I mean, it's kind of like when Burrow got to the NFL. Don't let anything surprise you. Sky's going to be the limit. And the Commanders, they're just confident. And, they're going into Philadelphia. These 2 teams will be the 3rd time they've played in a 2.5-month window. So no secrets. It's all going to be about execution and who makes the fewest mistakes and see if they can punch their ticket to New Orleans.
Just incredible, the poise and the professionalism and that he has. Gives hope to the Saints, right? I mean, you're talking about a franchise that was one of the top 3 worst teams in the league last year, the Commanders, and then here they are in the NFC Championship game the very next. I mean, I think probably the Saints are in a worse situation because they don't have the ability to go out and get free agents and make some, the additions that the Commanders did because they're so hamstrung with the salary cap to a certain extent. Although Mickey Loomis at his press conference tried to say, we got a lot of players on a contract. We're not as bad off as we think. Okay, all right, we'll see, Mickey. But it still gives you hope that you don't have to, like in the old days, be bad for 3-4 years before you get things turned around. That you can maybe 25. It's not going to be too pretty, and you might be something like you are this year, maybe a little better. But 26 gives you hope. But I mean, what he's doing is unprecedented. And listen, the way the Eagles played yesterday, Tommy, I'm going to keep riding the Jaden Daniels train. I'm going to bet the Commanders. Can you see what that line is? I'm curious what the
Five and
line
a half. Commanders
is.
are getting 5.5. Okay,
Yeah.
is it over and under 47.5? So the Eagles are home favorite. Obviously, you want to look at the weather situation in
Yeah.
Philly next week. But I'm like you. I mean, I had bet on the Lions the other night. I thought they would get it done. That's the one I missed. I hit a big one on the Bills money line last night. Thank you, Mark Andrews. But 5.5 points is what the Commanders are getting right now.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep riding that train. We'll talk plenty more about it later in the week, but there's no reason to jump off the train now because the Eagles escaped more than one. I mean, I don't want to say escape. I mean, they have Barkley, and he's a difference maker. But
Yeah, he's good.
Looked terrible. Jalen Hurts looked terrible yesterday.
Before we shift topics, right? Craig Schilling, one of our faithful viewers, and he listens to Sports Shorts Radio, just returned from Braves fantasy camp, and your pal Paul Berg was there for the first time, and he can't wait for LSU baseball. That's February 14th, Craig, but good to see Paul participating in the Braves fantasy camp. I saw Brandon Larson was at the Reds fantasy camp. Ronnie, are you going to the Brewers fantasy camp?
I would have to pay them to go. Oh, that's great. I'm glad for Paul. For folks that don't remember,
he had a few issues. That's why I'm saying glad for Paul, too.
Yeah. In 2023, he was inducted into the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. And that year, he also sat out from broadcasting as the Braves and hasn't gone back. His wife had some major health issues, and she's doing a lot better. But it's still a very slow recovery and out of an abundance of caution, and stuff like that. He wants to be around. And so I actually talked to him, a couple months ago, and he's not going to go back this year. Going to figure out eventually a new move, but he still lives in the Atlanta area and doing great. So I'm happy for him. He might get a little more involved this year in the season, but I'm happy for him. All right, so TK, some other games to get to. You mentioned Andrews, who dropped the 2-point try with less than a minute to go for the Ravens. That would have most likely sent the game to overtime, or a little over a minute. Would most likely sent the game to overtime at that point, 27 all. I mean, you're talking about a tight end who, this year hasn't been the greatest year. He's averaging just under 40 yards a game, but this is a guy who's been one of the better tight ends in the league for the last 5-6 years, and for him to just drop that ball in his stomach like that with no one around. I mean, that reminds me of Jackie Smith for the Cowboys back in the 70s when he dropped the touchdown in the back of the end zone, one of the all-time great tight ends in our league back then at that time, and had a wide open touchdown and dropped it. The Jackie Smith's catch was a lot harder than Andrew's catch yesterday, but both super impactful.
Well, Jackie Smith from Kentwood, Louisiana, too. Let's point that out. But, you just can't drop that ball, But as Coach John Harbaugh said after the game, we're not in this game without Andrews, okay? So, and all the players took up for him. It's a team game. There was 160 plays in the game. Why pin it on that one play? But you got to catch the football there. I mean, yes. I mean, whatever you want to say, you got to catch that ball, which then ties it, which, like you said, I don't know, maybe Josh Allen can go to the rest of the way and get a field goal to win it. But you got to catch that ball, and that's just and no one feels worse than Mark Andrews, I'm sure. But I had the Bills on the money line, so I'm okay with it. But anyway, that's just tough when a pro athlete does something like that. He's not the first one. He's not going to be the last one to have a blunder of that sort.
As good as Lamar Jackson is, he might take home and probably will the favorite to take home another MVP award in the league this year, over 4,000 yards, over 40 touchdowns, doesn't throw interceptions. Yesterday, he had two turnovers. Yesterday, Andrews had 2 turnovers, a fumble and a drop. He's at some point, he's going to start catching heat that he's just not getting it done in the playoffs. I mean, and that's the fact. He's wins over 70% of his games in the regular season since he's been in the league, but in the playoffs he's not getting it done for various reasons. And he talked about that after the game, the frustration that he feels for himself. He wasn't throwing anybody else under the bus. He was saying himself he's got to be better, and he does, because this guy is a game changer. a generational talent. And, Baltimore's, that window doesn't stay open forever. Just ask the Saints. As long as it did for the Saints, it kind of had two different windows, right? It had the window for Drew's like first 5 years, and then it had a window for like Drew's last 5 years. And then in between it was a little wonky and had the suspension and all that. But those windows don't last forever. And especially with the emergence of all these other young quarterbacks and talent. And this is one where the Ravens, you throw the Ravens, the Bills, excuse me, the Chiefs in a hat. All three of them are thinking, Super Bowl all year long. They both have good enough teams to be in the Super Bowl. And now Ravens are out, and it's down to the Bills and Chiefs.
And don't forget, all the MVP votes were due in last week. So the loss is not going to change what will be announced in New Orleans in a couple of weeks down the road. But Ronnie, that's the fickle part of the NFL. I mean, Dan Marino got to the Super Bowl as a rookie, okay, and then never got back. Tremendous career, obviously. And we could make a list of other guys who, did that. And then you got, the Trent Dilfers and the Brad Johnsons who won a Super Bowl and didn't do a whole lot else in their career. But it's just tough. I mean, the facts are the facts. You are what your record says you are. And in the playoffs, he's 2-6. He's 2-6 in the playoffs and been eliminated, the last 5 of the last 6 years, and not to the Super Bowl on some very good Raven football teams.
All right. So, the Chiefs and the Bills, what's the line on that one, Tommy?
The Chiefs are 1.5 favorite over and under 48.5. And again, you're going to have to look at the weather in Kansas City and the Bills. Bills will be used to it. That's not an issue. So, all 4 of these teams, 2 of them are going to punch a ticket to New Orleans. That's cool. We'll find out what happens come this Sunday. Different start times. They always do this. 2 o'clock for the Eagles game, 5:30 for the Chiefs on Sunday. You'll be able to watch it. So Chiefs, 1.5 favorite at home.
Yeah, I like the Chiefs and I like the Commanders. That's where I'm gonna go with my bet this week. Although the Commanders got real bad news, they lost their right guard, who's a really good player, one of their best offensive linemen. He tore his ACL. He won't be playing. He got hurt during the game, and so that could impact Jaden Daniels. But right now, the way that team is clicking and the confidence they're playing in on offense, that 5.5 doesn't scare me. I think the Chiefs-Bills game is a complete toss-up. But I am never going to bet against Patrick Mahomes at home in a championship game. Are you kidding me, Tommy? Whether it makes sense or not, dude, that dude is the GOAT. He figures it out. He finds a way. His team finds a way. I am not going against Patrick Mahomes and at home. Forget about it.
Well, I like what you said when you were visiting with Clyde Edwards-Helaire in Baton Rouge the other day about, they used to be on the sideline saying, just kind of chuckling, like he's going to get this done. He's going to throw the no-look pass or he's going to scramble for the first down, the whole bit. He's just going to get it. It's the opposite of Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson can't get it done. Mahomes does get it done. And, Ronnie, they're 2 wins away from being the first team in NFL history to win 3 straight Super Bowls. The Steelers didn't do that. The 49ers, the old Packers who won the first 2. I mean, it hadn't happened yet. And when you do something that hadn't happened yet, just like if Daniels as a rookie can get them into the Super Bowl, that's an attention getter. Okay, when you do something in that league or any league that has not happened yet over a long period of time, that's pretty sporty.
Well, especially in this day and age, and because with the salary cap, it's more of a parity and more balanced. Teams can fix themselves more. A lot of worst to first. We've seen that many, many times. And there's just more teams. There's more. The talent's more spread out. Going back to records from the 40s and 50s and 60s or even the 70s. I mean, less teams. You had teams that had payroll. Had money and teams that didn't, and all those kinds of things. And so to do something like that, to dominate, like that's why what the Patriots did, under Tom Brady and Bill Belichick for 20 years is so unbelievable, incredible that they were so dominant as a franchise. And now that we're seeing that under Reed and Mahomes, with the Chiefs, it's that Patriots kind of dominance. And maybe even, like you said, could potentially be a whole nother level that we've never even seen before if they win 3 Super Bowls in a row. So, all right, TK, tell us about Court Street Cafe.
Well, a couple other things, Ronnie. Big one Thursday night. We'll talk about Wednesday. Kim Mulkey at South Carolina. By the way, Kim Mulkey, their LSU's now 20-0 with the win over Florida. All 25 years as a head coach, she's won at least 20 games. Okay, let that sink in for a minute. And we have a homework assignment for everybody. TGL Golf tomorrow night, 6 o'clock ESPN. It's New York versus Atlanta. They got 3 players on each team. They got some triples, they call it, then singles. Homework is to watch TGL tomorrow night for at least 15 minutes, maybe more. And then on Wednesday morning, we'll talk about it on Sports Shorts Daily. And we want to get your comments. Do you like it? Do you think it'll catch on? No Tiger Woods tomorrow night. He moves the needle. We know that. So watch TGL, the Tomorrow Golf League, tomorrow night, 6 o'clock on ESPN. We'll talk about it Wednesday. Court Street Cafe, Ronnie, breakfast, lunch, dinner, 7 days a week. Get in out the cold weather. They got plenty of good stuff in here for you. Jason and the staff. No traffic today due to Martin Luther King Day. I zipped over here pretty quick. Get on over here, right over the Mississippi River Bridge, 805 Court Street in Port Allen. You'll be glad you did. Breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Court Street Cafe, Port Allen. Check it out.
Yeah, obviously, you see my bootleg T-shirt right here, Tommy. I got this T-shirt at the hotel bar. A guy came around selling these T-shirts, only $20. I saved like $30 probably, because this is like 50 inside. So it's probably got a misspelling somewhere. I'll have to look into it or something a little bit later on.
And you're probably not wearing that outside, right, with the weather in Atlanta, or you had to put the Rougarou coat over the top.
Hey, listen, I'm also in Atlanta for MLK Day, so special day here. I mean, you got the National Championship MLK, obviously, Martin Luther King.
There's another big event about noon today, too.
Yeah, a little inauguration action going on. That was freezing cold. They had to move. Like, I had some friends that went, and him. Joel Davis is in D.C. right now for the inauguration. Craig Lamont.
I did not know that. Okay.
Roger Harrington. The 3 of them flew up on Saturday to go to the inauguration. They had tickets they bought, I think, $1,500 a piece, or maybe $2,000. I think at least $1,500. I was shocked at the number because we know how cheap Joel is. But he bought tickets to the inauguration. They were going to be standing in the first section beyond where the seats are. So it was a reserved section, but it was standing room only. They did get their money back, and they're flying back as we speak. They're flying back this morning. So I did get confirmation they were able to get their money back for those tickets. But they did have a good time while they were there, went and saw some sights. And we'll have to get a full report from Joel on Saturday on Sports Shorts Radio when he joins us at 10:30 this coming Saturday morning on ESPN Radio, and have him break down his 48 hours in D.C. experience. Not even 48 hours, about 36-hour experience in D.C.
No, well, I'm looking forward to that for sure. What he paid for lunch and for a cup of coffee and everything else. And of course, that'll be Saturday morning on Sports Shorts Radio. All right, Ron, enjoy the game tonight. I'll be in front of the TV. You'll be in the Mercedes-Benz Dome in Atlanta, and it's going to be a fun one. We both think it's Ohio State kind of thing for those of you heading to the sports book at ESPN Bet LaBerge.
Yeah, definitely best place to watch over there on the east side. Baton Rouge is LaBerge, and on the west side of Baton Rouge, head on the Bruley Walk-Ons. We'll see you on Wednesday, everybody. Have a good one. Please like and share this video. Thanks for watching.